Hi everyone. Welcome back to Woo Can Cook. My name is Wesley, and this is a show where we are slowly cooking our way through all of the food from my childhood. Today we are diving back into one of my very favorite series on this channel, which is our series dedicated to the wonderful, weird, and culturally murky world of Asian fusion cuisine, with a shot at a variation on the crispy garlic noodles that we serve at the Woo Can Cook pop-up here in Oakland, California. Garlic noodles, of course, make for an interesting jumping off point because their origins in Asian cuisine is very murky and confusing. As far as I can tell, some claim that it originates here in the Bay Area from a Vietnamese restaurant in San Francisco, while others say that it comes from the Italian pasta aglio olio, but really, is there any real point in culturally claiming the idea of putting garlic in noodles? I mean, come on. In any case, for the Bay Area locals, our pop-up at Wondrous Brewing in Emeryville serves garlic noodles made with super thin wok-fried egg noodles that puff up during the fry due to their high egg content. Then we top these off with chili oil and of course fried garlic chips, yielding a crispy, garlicky, spicy noodle dish that is quickly becoming a fan favorite. Today we're going to be doing a fun variation on that dish by including a little bit of kimchi and nori seaweed to go along with our garlic chips to add a nice bit of brininess and texture to our noodles. Then finally, just to sort of riff on the idea of a pasta aglio olio, we're going to bloom some Korean red chili flakes or gochugaru in our garlic oil to create a Korean-inspired chili garlic oil finish, not unlike the use of red chili flake in an aglio olio. Okay, so let's get into it. Be the baby, and you're dying if you think that you don't know. Never mind, that you still don't know. Okay, so diving right in, we're starting off with our garlic here, which, as you might notice, we are doubling in quantity relative to most of our recipes. This is 8 cloves, or about half a head of crushed and minced garlic here. We're going to be frying these up into crispy garlic chips later over low and slow heat, which means they're going to be a little bit less fragrant in their crispy form, hence the doubling. Rounding this out is 1 inch or about 1 tablespoon of fine minced ginger that we're setting aside for our wok fry, then we're moving on to our mushrooms next. I've got about 6 or 8 shiitake mushrooms here that I'm rehydrating in boiling water for about 15 to 20 minutes until tender. Then we're removing and slicing these up into thin strips. As a reminder, this water is a very useful source of vegan-based umami in braised dishes. I don't have much use for it today, but if you're making anything that involves a slow cook or braise though, this is some liquid gold right here. Next up here is our nori strips. I'm using some sushi nori here in lieu of the more common dried furikake because I want the chewy texture of my nori to stand out in our noodles today. This stuff, however, as we discovered in our soba noodle recipe not too long ago, does not slice very easily with a knife, so some kitchen shears are going to be really useful for this part. Finally, rounding everything out, I'm weighing out about 16 ounces or 1 ounce of thin egg noodles here. Now, for those attempting this recipe, I really like these super thin egg noodles because they fry up the easiest in a wok, although I don't see a lot of places that sell these. So, alternatively, you can pretty much go with really any high egg content fresh noodle that you can get your hands on. We often use flat noodles at the pop-up, which work really well too. What's most important though is that the noodles that you use should have this deeply golden yellow color to it, which is a sign that it contains a high amount of egg in them. This is going to be super critical for the wok fry portion, otherwise they won't puff up properly. Next up, moving on to our sauce, we're going to be assembling a briny, savory sauce base to pair with our noodles today, mostly leaning on the use of kimchi brine. Kicking things off here first is 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup of soy sauce and 2 tablespoons of sesame oil to start. Then next are our sweeter elements. This is a tablespoon each of mirin, brown sugar, and gochujang. We're going a little easy on that gochujang today because it will definitely overpower our other elements if we're not careful. Last up, as promised, this is about a 1/4 cup each of kimchi brine and gochugaru chili flake. Now, as always, if you're smart, I like to save my kimchi brine when I reach the end of a jar for exactly this purpose, but if you've forgotten or if your kimchi jar just doesn't have that much brine to spare, you can also substitute this with a tablespoon each of fish sauce and rice vinegar. Over on the stove, I have my wok heating up over a real gentle low heat. Then I'm adding about 4 tablespoons of peanut oil and, as always, long yao for that nice non-stick surface. Then going in here first is my garlic, which we're going to simmer over low heat for about 10 minutes until lightly golden brown before killing the heat, then blooming a tablespoon of gochugaru in that residual oil. As always, with slow frying like this, remember to pull things off early here to account for residual cook time, otherwise things will overcook off heat. Next up, moving on to our wok fry, I've cleaned out my wok here, then I'm raising my temperature to as hot as possible, then adding 4 tablespoons of peanut oil and giving 1 more long yao. Then going in next is my ginger, which I'm blooming for about 15 seconds until nice and fragrant, then immediately following up with my kimchi and shiitake mushrooms. We're giving this a quick toss on heat for about 1 to 2 minutes to cook off some of that briny quality to our kimchi just a tiny bit, then removing, reheating, and moving on to our noodles next. Last up, for our third and final batch cook, I've added another 4 tablespoons of peanut oil and done 1 more long yao. Then here's my egg noodles going in, which we're immediately tossing and agitating for about 2 to 3 minutes until they start to puff up. Constant agitation is going to be super key here because these noodles are pretty delicate, so if they sit still in the wok for too long, they're definitely going to start to burn. 2 to 3 minutes later, we should have some nice puffed up egg noodles going on here. Then I'm adding my kimchi back to the wok, followed by my sauce mixture and of course my garlic chili oil. Then I'm tossing this all to combine for just 1 more minute, then removing from heat. We're finishing this all off with our nori strips and just a touch more of gochugaru on top, and we're ready to eat. Alright, so for the Bay Area folks that have been to the Woo Can Cook pop-up, these should look fairly familiar because they are for the most part the same garlic noodles that we serve at the pop-up. I think the main difference here is that we've leaned a little bit harder into the briny and fishy umami qualities of our kimchi, which in my opinion are my favorite attributes about kimchi. That said, I also think that some of those harsher and more aggressively briny qualities of our kimchi mellow out quite a bit when fried, giving us a little bit more room for the rest of our dish to shine through. The gochugaru that we bloomed in our garlic chili oil is subtle but pervasive in the way that it sort of spreads throughout the entire dish and complements nicely with the delicious puffy and tangled mess of noodles that we have here as well. Then our nori is a nice textural finish that softens up a little bit over heat, which I think does a little bit more for us than a sprinkle of furikake. Finally, the last bit that I'll mention here is that I often talk to a lot of folks that don't like raw kimchi because of its abrasive nature, but do end up liking it in its more mellow cooked form, so if you fall into this category, definitely give this one a shot. Okay, so that's it everyone. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you give this one a shot. For those who are new to the channel, this one is part of a larger series dedicated to fusion recipes, so definitely check out that series next because there's a lot of these. For the Bay Area locals, the Woo Can Cook fried rice pop-up is now at Wondrous Brewing in Emeryville every Thursday through Sunday, so come by and say hi then if you can. More about that at woocancook.com/eats. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, be nice interneters, and I'll see you soon.